You ever find yourself cramming for a huge test, you pass it, and then like a week later, it's all gone? Poof, vanished from your brain. Well, if that sounds familiar, you've probably fallen into what some people call the intelligence trap. Today, we're going to dig into how our school systems might actually be setting us up for this exact trap by putting memorization way, way above true understanding. Let's get into it.
So let's just start with a really honest question. Think back, high school, college, whatever. Did it ever feel like the whole game was just about remembering a bunch of facts long enough to spit them out on an exam? That feeling is exactly what we're exploring today.
Okay, so in this first section, we're going to break down what this trap really is. Why do our schools so often seem to care more about what we can remember instead of what we can actually understand and think about?
This quote, wow, it just gets right to the point, doesn't it? It suggests that for some education systems, the goal isn't really about building up your mind. It's about creating a filter. So what does that actually mean?
Well, think about it. When you've got a massive number of students but not enough resources, like the example of the Bangladeshi education system from our source material, the priority kind of shifts. It becomes less about nurturing every single student's potential and more about just sorting them. And the most efficient way to sort a lot of people? Standardized tests that rely heavily on just recalling facts. To make this feel a bit more real, let's ground it in an experience I think a lot of us have shared, the good old-fashioned math class. This is, for many people, ground zero for the memorization trap.
And here it is, the cycle. Sound familiar? The teacher shows you exactly how to solve a problem. You furiously copy it all down. For homework, you do the exact same type of problem over and over. Then you get to the exam and you just recite the steps you memorized. The big question is, did you actually learn math, or did you just get really good at mimicking a procedure? This whole process can completely bypass any real understanding of the concepts.
So what's the big deal? Well, the end result of this cycle is something called fragile knowledge. It's brittle. It breaks the second you're faced with a new type of problem. And this is a huge reason why some students who were straight-A machines in school can really struggle when they get into the real world, Because out here, problems almost never look exactly like the examples in the textbook.
But hey, it is not all doom and gloom, I promise. Now that we get the trap, let's talk about how to get out of it. In this next part, we're going to look at the amazing set of tools you can build to go way beyond just remembering stuff. This is your cognitive toolkit.
First up in the toolkit is reasoning. This is all about thinking from the ground up, from first principles. So instead of just copying the business strategy of some famous CEO, you'd break it down. You'd understand the core truths about what people value and what makes a business work, and then you build your own strategy. It's kind of like the difference between following a recipe and actually being a chef.
Next up, we have adaptive intelligence. And in the world we live in today, changing this fast, this skill is absolutely essential. Let's say you've always studied by making flashcards. It's your go-to. But for this one really complex subject, it's just not working. Adaptive intelligence is being able to see that, admit it, and pivot to a new strategy. Maybe you try explaining the concepts to a friend instead. Being rigid is a quick way to become irrelevant.
Then we've got systems thinking. Oh, this is a big one. This is the ability to see the world not just as a bunch of separate things happening, but as a giant, interconnected web. It's about seeing the hidden feedback loops. People who only think in straight lines get blindsided a lot. And here is a fantastic, powerful example of that. It's so easy to think, oh, I'll just get more sleep and I'll feel less tired. But a systems thinker sees the whole chain reaction, right? Better sleep means better recovery. Better recovery leads to higher performance in your work or at the gym. Higher performance builds discipline, which makes it easier to hit your goals. Stronger discipline often leads to a better income. And what can that income give you? Freedom. It's all connected in this beautiful, powerful loop. And look, the toolkit doesn't even stop there. You've got metacognition, which is basically thinking about your own thinking. It's asking, is this the best way for me to be learning this? You've got abstract reasoning for seeing patterns and solving really tricky problems. And of course, creative intelligence for new ideas and emotional intelligence for working with people. Every single one of these is a powerhouse for building real, lasting understanding. Okay, so we've looked at the trap and we've opened up the toolkit. For this final section, let's completely reimagine the role of memory. What if memory isn't the bad guy here?
What if, when used correctly, it's actually a powerful ally?
So at this point, it's a fair question, right? Are we saying you should just stop trying to memorize things altogether? And the answer is absolutely not. The problem was never memory itself. The problem is how we've been taught to use it.
Here is a brilliant analogy to help you think about this. A lot of the time, we treat our memory like a computer's CPU, the central processor, the thing that does all the heavy lifting. But it's not. Your memory is more like the computer's RAM. It's the short-term storage that holds all the critical information your actual intelligence, your CPU, needs to access to do its job. And this really highlights the crucial balance we need to find. You can have a photographic memory, memorize entire books, and still not be able to come up with a single original idea. But at the same time, you can't do any deep, complex thinking without having a solid base of knowledge stored in your memory to draw from. It's foundational, but it's not the whole building. This is when it all clicks. This is when memorization goes from being a chore to being a superpower. When it's not the final goal, but a tool that helps you do these other amazing things. When your memory helps you spot patterns, build deep concepts, and even automate skills so you can do them without thinking, that's when you're not just remembering, you're achieving mastery. So we'll end with this one last question for you to take away. As you go about your life learning new things, just ask yourself this: is my memory serving my intelligence, or is it replacing it? Answering that honestly might just change the way you learn forever. Thanks for exploring this with me today.